Okay, so basically, this lecture will teach you a little bit about what it means to be a nomad, how it feels like, and what do you need to do in order to actually make it happen. And a little bit about myself. First of all, this is my email, what you see over here. So if any of you actually go for it, you can always send me an email if you have any questions or updates or whatever. I'll be more than happy to answer. And there is a relevant site that is my blog on nomadic lifestyle, which is www.becomenomad.com. And this is something I've been working on, and I'll just maybe show you a quick glimpse of how it looks like and what I tried to do over there. So basically, what you have here, I went for a blog that has a lot of resources about all the categories, and basically this is a huge extension to the things we're going to talk about today. So if you feel like that you've missed out on things and I was too fast on some of the issues, you can either ask me or go to the blog. All the sections are here: how to travel cheap and what revenue resources you have as a nomad, some stuff about nomad philosophy, exploring where you are, how to have a social life when you're nomadic, and so on. So that's pretty much the blog. And that was a quick intro. And now what we're going to do is going to start talking about our thing. Basically, what we're going to do is a quick introduction about myself as a case study to the nomadic topic, and you might take some things from there that might be relevant for you when you go for this nomadic life. Second of all, basically, I want to say something that even if you don't consider being a nomad, I think there is a lesson here that everyone more or less can use, which is the lesson of change. And when I'm talking about change, I'm talking about all of us, or we were taught that, let's say, the regular lifestyle is the only lifestyle that really exists. Okay? And by talking about the regular lifestyle, we're talking about 9 to 5 job and family and the house. Okay? And what I'm saying basically here is that it might not be the case for everyone. I'm not saying there is something that is ultimately better than this, but I'm saying that we can consider other lifestyles as well. And what I'm doing basically is another lifestyle. So the lesson of change, of being in a position that you have your lifestyle, and you say, I'm not that happy, is important for everyone. Even if you stay and you have your own and you're never going to be a nomad, we're also going to talk about how to sustain yourself on the move. This is one of the biggest topics out there, how to make money when you're constantly traveling. And the last thing we're going to touch, I'm not sure we're going to touch this that much, is startups, how to have a startups while being nomadic. Starting with a quick intro about myself. So basically, what do I do? What is my nomadic lifestyle? And it's important to say, I've met many nomads on the way. Every one of them has totally different lifestyle. But basically, for the last, a little bit more than 3 years now, I've been traveling while working. So I think I prepared a map here. So basically, I started in India for 3 months, and then I went to Peru for 6 months, and then I went to Paraguay for 3 months, and to Argentina for 3 months, and then to Spain for 3 months, and I think the United Kingdom for 2 months, and Croatia for 3 months, and Serbia for 2 months, Bosnia for 2 months, Greece for 3 months, Bulgaria, Romania. So you can see pretty much here, I haven't been in many countries in this period. I've been traveling in more than 40 countries during my lifetime, but in this period, of course, I've been traveling a lot during this period as well. But what I'm trying to say is that my lifestyle is basically staying longer in places. So each month, each location, you could hear that I stayed 2 months here, 3 months here. I'm currently in Berlin for I think 3 months at least. There's so many Israelis here. You have to come. You feel at home. Um, so that's my lifestyle. I'm more or less. It's not that much traveling. It's more like settling down in each place where I stay, but changing all the time. And a little bit about my life before this experiment. I was an accountant. I was studying in the Hebrew University, and I did my MBA, and I worked in KPMG, and I was in those big offices in floor number 12, I think, in KPMG. Every day seemed pretty much the same. I was a lot less happy than now. I had a serious girlfriend. I almost got married. So I had a really normal life, and some stuff happened. And it's important for me to say now when we talk about this change or what happened, it's important for me to say as a lesson that I didn't come to a situation that I said, okay, I'm going to be a nomad and that's it. It's like the perfect life for me, and I'm making this big jump. Life pretty much pushed me into making this change because my girlfriend left me and I got fired once, and I had a really tough time at the second job where I was. So basically, I had lots of things in my life that didn't really work out. And why do I say it? I say it because I don't want to picture where I'm really a hero living a success, saying I don't want this successful life anymore and I'm going to do my thing. I was pretty much pushed to a situation in which I could say, hey, I lost lots of things. Maybe I can rethink now about what I'm doing next. So, because I've met some nomads that had a really good going for them and they decided to leave everything. So, I'm just saying that not all nomads are this amazing that they say, okay, I'm just leaving everything, I'm a big success story and I'm going for my dream. Sometimes life pushes you there, and when it pushes you there, instead of panicking, you can say, okay, I'm going to change. And that's basically the lesson. Because I think most of us will have the chance if we're pushed there. We don't necessarily have to be active. And if you're pushed there, then you can actually make it happen. If anyone has any questions, feel free on the chat. And let's go on to the advantages of being a nomad. I think it doesn't really need a lot of elaboration. But I'll just do a quick recap. So basically, the advantages are that it's really fun and wakes you up. When you go to a new place, you're in Mumbai for a month, and then you go to Asuncion in Paraguay, and then you wake up in Sarajevo in Bosnia, and you go to Zagreb in Croatia. Then this constant change is putting us in some kind of a psychological situation that you feel like you're alive. I think we all know what I'm talking about, especially if you currently have a full-time job and you feel like, every day looks like the day before. The second advantage is that you have lots of new friends. So, our social cycle is pretty much, the circle is pretty much the same, more or less. And when you keep on changing locations, you get to meet lots of new people, which is pretty cool. And knowledge about the world, you're going to know a lot about. Now I know so much about the Balkan Wars, who started it, what happened between the Serbs and the Croats and the Bosniaks and whatever. So, and everywhere I go to, you really understand what's going on in the country, and this knowledge is pretty cool. Okay, so it makes you a little bit more smarter. One more thing that it does is knowing yourself better, because you're constantly in ever-changing situations. So your life doesn't really look the same from day to day, and those situations teach you a lot about yourself as well. It's pretty deep philosophical stuff, but it's true. And the next advantage is hacking life with costs, which is if you manage to create a situation where you make money from clients in rich countries and you live in poor countries, then basically you're doing okay. Because basically our financial situation is not only how much we make, it's also how much we spend. And of course, that when we spend less money, even if we make less money, we're better off. It's all about the bottom line. So especially now in Israel, costs are so high and everything that you say to yourself, okay, in the end of the month, I'm left with X amount of money. Maybe if I go live in Bosnia, I can receive a lot less money, but then again, have a lot more money. So that's pretty interesting. And the last advantage is that you have a story. You become a lot more interesting. I promise you, if you would come to this lecture 4 years ago, the only thing I could do is would be pretty much give you accounting principles lecture about what's new in the American, the American laws of accounting. So basically, this is something that now I have stories to tell, and I can talk about interesting topics, and it's pretty cool. So that's like the last advantage, and there are many, many more. Each one of you will have their own advantage when they actually go for it. So those are the advantages. But to level the ground and say, okay, this is not totally perfect, and there are some disadvantages. And I want to make it very clear that disadvantages are kind of substantial. Each one of us takes them with another level of severity, but there are difficult disadvantages. It's not all perfect, not at all. First disadvantage is that you have no home, or your home is constantly changing. So, this comfortable place that you're used to, and you feel like, okay, nobody can bother me now, and it's perfect, you don't have it. Now I'm renting a room in Berlin. I don't know, the internet might go off, stuff can happen. I'm like here for a short time, I don't really know the place, and it's not really, there isn't the feeling of this is my place. It's just the transition between the place before and the next place. Really hard to establish routines from scratch. You go to a new place, you know nothing. I need, for example, to swim. Others need to play football. Others need to play pool to be happy, whatever. And of course, workspace and whatever. So every time you go, you're totally new. You have to start from scratch. And you need those routines, and you feel a little bit confused. Like if you're in the middle of Mumbai and you're like, okay, what do I do here, and what exactly is my life now? The third one, I think, is the most substantial one, the loneliness and the separations. This really depends on the person you are. I think I'm lucky enough not to be very sensitive to this, but you have to take it by definition that you're going to a new place, you're going to be alone. You're going to be alone in the beginning for sure, and you're gonna be pretty alone during, although you're gonna meet people, and it's gonna be depressing when you finally met enough people after 2 months that you have to tell them all goodbye, and you move to a new place and you're alone again. So this loneliness and separations is pretty tough, and another disadvantage. But I don't want, instead of a nomad tribe, we're gonna have in the end of the lecture people are anti-nomadic, but I just have to present the picture as it is. One more disadvantage: surprises. There is no stability. Everything can happen. Basically, good things happen all the time. Crazy stuff. You're in Bosnia and you find the most amazing pancake in 20 cents and whatever. But there are some bad things that can happen, like monkeys can beat you up in India, happened to me. You get detained in the Hungarian border control, and they think your passport is fake, and they keep you for 10 hours in the border, deport you, and stamp your passport with a big X. This crazy stuff can happen when you're on the road and you're in new places. So there are lots of ups and downs. It's not really stable, okay? And travel or work, this is also a little bit confusing. You're in a new place, but you have to work. But then again, your friends sometimes are tourists, and sometimes you feel like, wow, I'm in Berlin, I have to see what's going on here. So you get diverted from working, which is bad for business. And there is an issue of ego blow, which is basically what's written over here, that you're officially weird, maybe. you're officially weird. Yeah, that's exactly what's going on here. So if before I was an accountant with an MBA from Tel Aviv University, and my family could have said, yeah, the kid is okay. It's like it's going to the right place. He's going to be in a stable life. He's going to have a family. Then he's going to die. Then suddenly you become some kind of a weird story, and you have to face it. So it's not, let's say, it's if you have a really big ego, you're gonna have to lie a lot about how successful you are, and it's not necessarily the case. So another disadvantage. By the way, if someone just joined us, you can always send questions in the chat, and I'm going to try my best to answer them while we're doing the lecture. So let's speed up to the next topic of ways of making money while traveling. And I know a lot of you are, maybe this is the thing that most interests you, because this is really the complicated issue over here. So some of the ways of making it happen, okay? Firstly, there is the part-time nomad. And that means that you don't really have to be a full-time nomad. You can be half-half. That, for example, you find a job that you work only 6 months, and then you go traveling for 6 months. This happens usually in where there is a seasonal effect. For example, ski resorts. So I have a good friend from Japan that she's doing ski resorts work, and then she travels when it's summer. And it can be in the hotel industry, in the high season, low season, and so on. So some people do it. It's not that bad on taxes as well, by the way, because your income is, that's the accountant of me jumping, your income is calculated on an annual base, and if you only make money in 6 months, then it's going to work out okay with taxes. And we have a question from Ben, so I'm going to quickly answer that. So the question was for the half-time nomad, do you need a local work permit? The visa is a big issue also. So the half-time is pretty much working where you're at now. So let's say you're in Israel. So you're working, let's say, in Israel, and then you just take off and you disappear for 6 months, and then you travel, and then pretty much you're a tourist. But I'll expand on that and just say that basically you travel as a tourist, even if you're working while traveling, unless this is in the unique case of working in the place where you're at, okay? If you're working in the place where you're at, which is more or less the classical nomad, you're going to need a working visa. But then in all the other cases, you can do a tourist visa, because you're not working or receiving a paycheck in your local, in the place where you travel. Okay? So we talked about the half-half. Work breaks, which means I have a good friend that works in IBM, and basically she's working, and then she takes a break for a month, and then work again, and then a break for a month. That's just something to think about. Maybe you can talk with your employer. Maybe your job is flexible enough. Maybe you can find a flexible job that will allow you to do those breaks. A lot of jobs do not allow that. And basically, let's talk about the other type of being a nomad, which is getting work in the country where you're at. That's basically what Ben was asking about, the classical nomads. By the way, those are disappearing. Now it's all about digital nomads. So those guys, they existed forever. They were here also 50 years ago. Usually they work illegally. I know nothing about this specific topic of earning money in the country you're at by working in classical works like chef or gardener or whatever, but this is an option, and it's worth exploring as well. And I'm pretty sure that if you have a profession or someone invites you, then you can get the relevant visa as well. And the third option over here is the digital nomad, the online freelancer. Okay, so this is, I think, the most recommended of them all. It's pretty much meaning have your clients outside of where you travel, and you're currently in Thailand, and you work in Thailand for clients in the USA, in Israel, or in Switzerland, or whatever. And that's a great option. The last option, which I'm not sure I can recommend, but that's basically what I'm doing, is become an entrepreneur. So it means that you're not only traveling, but also building your own business at the same time, which is very complicated and challenging, but then again, also very rewarding. Um, and I'll just talk a little bit about the options. So basically, this is the first option that we were talking about, the freelancing option. And the freelancing option can do the best thing to do is get your clients now when you have full-time work, where when you're inside, let's say, Israel or the US. Get them, tell them, hey guys, I'm leaving, but I'm going to be online. I can get a lot less money than what I'm getting now, and I'm going to give you the same quality of job. If you can do that, you can do what I did. I opened a profile on, in this case, what you see over here is a screenshot from Elance. I'm going to write it over here, elance.com. I wrote it in red. And basically, you open a profile, you start really low, like because you're in a competition with a huge amount of people from India and China and whatever. And you prove to the client that you have like perfect 5 rating and everyone is happy for you because those are based on your views. And you slowly build yourself up to a situation that you can earn money, especially if you develop some kind of a nice skill. So I recommend both Elance, and I'm going to write the other one, odesk.com. They're actually the same owner now owns them because they just merged a month ago, but they're going to keep on being separated. I totally recommend those two, and that's what I did to sustain myself. Open a profile, start bidding for jobs. I can even share, let's do a quick share here, just going to show you more or less. So they have jobs, they have all types of jobs. You just go and you can see in the site what kind of jobs they have based on, is it IT and programming, design, writing, translation, sales, or whatever. And you just go for it and start to brand yourself as a premium supplier. Let's go back to the lecture, and that was freelancing. Really recommended offer, and I'm saying just as an experiment, because we're so dependent on the shelter of our employer, to go to those platforms and check what you can do. What is it that you can offer the world if you don't have the shelter and the branding of your company, and what skills do you have? I discovered some things about myself when I was there, about what do I do well and what I don't do well. So it's pretty fun to know that no matter where you are, you have a skill that can generate money. So just for the sake of it, I will try. Entrepreneurship, that's a tricky option. I do recommend it. I think it's fun because you're creating something new that didn't exist before. On the same time, it's really complicated because freelancing jobs are, you have a project for 2 months, and then the project ends and you're free. Now, if you start a business, for example, this is the showcase of LingoLearn. That's my online school. So you have it at lingolearn.com or LingoLearn COIL. This is an online school for teaching languages. We started it more than 3 years ago. We're still struggling with it. It's really tough. It's going well, but it's a tough issue. And then again, it's a little bit anti-nomadic to start a business while traveling, because a business is like a baby. If you leave it alone for a second, it dies. I don't know, but something like that. You can't leave a business alone. And in a way, this nomadic journey is all about the freedom. But I needed some kind of a cause as well, or some kind of a creation or a goal. So I needed a business. Freelancing was not enough. So that's the first thing that was created. We have about 200 students, I think, and it's really interesting in various languages in Israel and around the world. And yeah, it's really cool to create something that didn't exist. So I do recommend, but take into account that your freedom is going to decrease a little bit if you go for an online business. And this is another business that I started. It's called Startup Link. It's like a world map of startups, and so I have this thing. I'm like a serial entrepreneur in a way of having a startup and then always trying some new stuff and having a blog or whatever, because I think I need to change also in my career as well all the time, which is a problem. So I recommend focus. I definitely recommend focus, but sometimes you just have to do some new stuff. And for Tal, what you asked, I'm going to write the links later. Uh, let's talk a little bit about how does it help the business to be a nomad. Okay, so because we talked about the advantage of nomadic lifestyle, let's now talk about the advantages of how it's going to help your business if you're nomadic. So you're more happy. So if you're more happy, things are flowing better in a way, and it also affects your business and your connections or whatever. Global business contacts, like my LinkedIn account, for example, has really increased since I started this nomadic journey, and I think most of my contacts are not from Israel, so it's very, very diversified. So if I want to do something in Croatia or in Bosnia, I have the contacts, and I can connect people, which is pretty nice. And first-hand knowledge about international markets. You're not that afraid of going international because you're all the time international, so why should you be afraid? And one more thing is cutting down your costs. We talked about this, especially if you have a business. If you start a business, you're going to need a lot of money in the beginning. You're probably going to lose money in the first year or two. It's important to say this is the difference between freelancing and starting a business or a startup. Freelancing will generate cash flow from minute one, basically. Even if you're earning $2, like the guys in India. When I was traveling in India, I was working for $2 an hour. So you had an amazing opportunity of getting it for $2, but now it's not the case. But basically, even you're making money from minute one. And the startup is basically losing money in the first year or 2 years. So if you go to a place where it's cheap, it's going to help your survival rate. Because instead of renting a place in Tel Aviv and needing to pay back the rent, you can stay in Bosnia, and then you have more oxygen to invest money in the business as well. And the last one is that you have a story to tell. We talked about this in the advantage of nomadic life. It's also good here because you're receiving some attention. For example, what I'm doing with you guys, okay, and I'm going to do it with my Facebook group, and I have a lecture in Berlin in a week from now. So it's pretty cool because people are pretty interesting, and then when they're interested in what you do, they're also interested in your business. So it does give a push, and that usually we don't have because we don't have that much of an amazing story to tell. But of course, there are some disadvantages as well. So the first is infrastructure. Internet, comfortable, stable place, work atmosphere, really difficult. You just go to Bosnia now and then you have to figure out where you work from, and your clients don't really care, and the people who work for you, they don't really care that you're in a new place. So it can be challenging. I've lost Lingolearn started very, very slowly because I started in India. And I had a conversation with my partner in India that lasted for 5 hours that we could have done for 10 minutes, but it was just because of the bad internet. And one more thing is that this change of when you go to a place, you go to another place, you go to another place, you lose a lot of time. Because you don't know anything. You have to start from scratch everywhere, build your routines, understand where's my home and where's the closest supermarket and here and there, and it's time that you could have spent on the business. So it affects. By the way, everything I'm saying now is also for freelancers. You're also going to lose time. Even if you're a freelancer, you're going to have a little bit less time to work because of those problems. And there is this thing about lack of control that, let's say I'm in Paraguay now and my clients are in Israel, a little bit of a problem, right? Or the tax authorities in Israel need some kind of a document and you're in the middle of Paraguay. It's like a little bit of a mess. And that's why I wrote over here in parentheses, partner. We're going to talk about it later, but you need backup. If you're going to do this lifestyle and start a business or even do freelancing, you still need backup. And clients and investors get suspicious because in the end, a client or investor that wants to invest in your business, they want you close to them. Okay, so if you're going and no, I'm here and I'm in Paraguay and I'm going to India and whatever, then your clients are, can I trust this guy to supply me with, I don't know, with a business plan or whatever? It reminds me, I was in London and I've met some of my clients for a beer. I did freelancing for business plans. I'm still doing a little bit, preparing business plans for clients. And when I met the clients in London, they were shocked to see me because I was unshaved as now and with like cheap clothes and whatever. And I told them that I stay in an hostel in a dorm room because London is super expensive, so I couldn't even afford a room for myself. So they're like, what's going on? You prepared a business plan for me that I talked with investors on millions of dollars, and now, I mean, that's like was a shattered deal. And now you ask me to buy you a beer. And this was the good part. They'll bought me beer. But then again, they're a little bit like, okay, this is not really what I expected from the person I was hiring. But then again, it's still fun. But it is something that you have to take into account. There is a price you're going to pay on this. Let's say if you want the premium clients, the serious clients, your nomadic story is not going to do them a lot of good. Let's move on to, I'm going to skip the Nomad startups. Maybe we'll do another e-lecture one day and talk about Nomad startups because I know it's not relevant to all of you. And I'm going to switch to how to become a nomad, okay? So let's say you feel like you want to do it, and now it's all about how exactly to start. Phase one, map your attachments. So basically it's really easy. Write down all the things that stop you from becoming a nomad tomorrow. So it can be university, it can be an amazing job, it can be a relationship, it can be a child, it can be a pet, it can be an asset. For example, you have the most amazing business or you have the most amazing apartment, you don't want to leave. So all those attachments, you have to map them and decide, is it worth, is it worth breaking up of your girlfriend tomorrow? I'm not saying anything, I'm not taking a side on that, I don't want the responsibility, but you map the attachments and you say, okay, how do I cut down from those attachments? You start thinking about how you're going to make revenue from day one. So basically, it's not about going to the UK and then saying, okay, what am I going to do now? How am I going to make money? Start now when you have a job, when you're not that pressured to build your online profile, your freelancer profile, your startup, whatever, and not while you're on the move. Really, don't just jump into it and start then. Start now. And one more thing for a business at least is to find a reliable partner, someone that can cover you, someone that is stable, that is non-nomad. That always helps. Let's talk a little bit about what to do while being a nomad. And while you're a nomad, those are my recommendations of how to do it well. Firstly, I already mentioned it, don't move too much. So instead of thinking I'm a nomad now and I have to change the location every 2 or 3 days, over here you're going to a situation that you're saying I have a responsibility to my business clients, my life and my stability, and I'm going to be really boring in my nomadic journey, and I'm going to stay 2 months here, and then I'm going to do 3 months in Prague, and then I'm going to do 3 months in Mumbai, but I'm going to stay. I'm going to more or less become a local where I stay in this period. One more thing you want to do, establish routine. I have a list. I have a checklist of about 20 things that I do in every place I go to. And this is something that gives me the stability. Find a swimming pool, find a co-working place, find XYZ. For each one of you, the list is going to be different. But you need this list, because if not, you're like totally confused and weird. Other thing that helps me out is co-working, because staying at home and working, some of you might face it now, and some of you are probably freelancers. So I always go for co-working. Like the first thing I do, co-working. It's a space where you share an office with other people, you interact. That's where I get a lot of my friends from, and it gives you the environment of some kind of social interaction also when you work. befriending locals. In the beginning, I was trying to befriend tourists. I'm a tourist. Why shouldn't I befriend tourists? But then you understand that the tourist schedule is totally different from yours. They want to go to parties, and then they want to see this site in the morning on Monday when everyone is working. So go for locals, because locals have their weekends free and they have their nights free, and that's pretty much your boring itinerary, even when you're a nomad. You're not a tourist here, because being a tourist costs money. Even in Bosnia or in India, being a tourist costs money if you go on a tourist vibe. And over here, it's being local as soon as possible to spend the least amount of money. Because tourists pay a premium for being a tourist. You don't want to be a tourist. One more thing you want to do is separate weekends from weekdays. Really have a routine of working. Like the usual stuff. If you're going for a nomadic lifestyle, it doesn't mean that you're going to have fun now. It just means that you're doing the usual stuff, only in a different setting and in a different lifestyle as well. But then again, you can't just have fun and that's it. It's not you probably have to work more than what you would have worked if you wouldn't be a nomad. India, not London. You're a nomad. Go to the cheap places. That goes without saying, and find the best nomadic lifestyle for you, because there are so many of them. So what's the frequency of traveling? What constraints you have? For example, I travel every 3 months, and I have this constraint that I don't want to go to the same country again. So I'm always going to choose a new country. So each one of us will have their own tips, and yeah, there are more tips, as I said, on becomenomad.com. Some resources for you when you start. So for accommodation, you probably know those are not secrets. Those are not nomadic secrets. Those are those are things that lots of people know. So you have hostelworld.com for cheap hostels when you just settle down. You have booking.com, which became a lot better for finding places for you that are pretty cheap. You have Airbnb. This one, perfect for finding accommodation. I've been doing Airbnb for a long time. Couchsurfing is great for social interaction with people. So basically, because I can't host and I don't surf in places because I work, I use it to meet people. So it's perfect to meet people. Bispora is also a nice site for entrepreneurs. So you can meet lots of people who are into online businesses and stuff, and I use it a lot. My other startup, the other startup that I had, Startup Link, that I talked about, the other co-founder is from Bispora, someone I went for coffee with. And by the way, the third co-founder, where you can see him, so this is my Croatian co-founder, Philip, and this is Roderick, the Swiss-American co-founder. I was actually working for Roderick while I was in Paraguay. I was preparing his business plan. So you have lots of weird stuff that happened. Meetup, you already know about Meetup, that's why you're here. And for work, that's for Tal, Elance, and Odesk. Okay, so you have the links here, elance.com and odesk.com to start a profile and to start working as soon as possible. And three final suggestions, things that I talked about already, but I'm just going to repeat them again. Don't panic. Don't say, I'm going to be a nomad, that's it, tell your family it's over, and I would wait for the opportunity. Because if your life is okay now, why should you change it? Don't change it. But if the opportunity comes, let's say your girlfriend leaves you or your boyfriend leaves you and you get kicked out of work and whatever, instead of panicking and saying, well, I have to replace them with something else, which is exactly the same, maybe it's worthwhile to take it easy and say, okay, very bad, but maybe an opportunity here has emerged to do something new, because my attachment has disattached from it, which is pretty cool in a way. Do what you like, because life is short. So if you're not doing what you like now, you're in a serious mess, right? So really, do something that you like, and challenge the model. So the model is basically the regular lifestyle that we talked about, and it might not be ideal for everyone. It's good. I know it's good. But then again, sometimes take some time to think about, okay, what should I do? And which way should I go for? And that's pretty much it. So the bottom line is difficult and complicated, but possible, I think. And yeah, so I would love to keep in touch. That's my email, okay, written over here. And this is my blog, and that's basically it. And a pleasure to meet you all. You can now unmute yourself, and if you have any questions or whatever, let me know.